Can you talk about the important role that class played in Whitman's decision to give up his career as a journeyman printer and become the poet of the United States?
He had been working as a printer. I think he dropped out of school when he was in the 6th or 7th grade, was apprenticed to a printer, and so that's part of why he became so literate, and worked as a journalist early on, and had even written a temperance novel. He was interested in being a literary person, and then he heard Emerson speak. I believe it was, I don't know if it was the lecture, the American Poet, but Emerson said some things that made Whitman believe that America needed a poet from the working class. And he was working as his father was a carpenter, and he was working as a carpenter, working with his father and doing some real estate speculating in Brooklyn, and also working as a printer, and he decided to stop working and to spend a year writing Leaves of Grass, or the first volume of Leaves of Grass, which was published in 1855. And then once he got rolling, he wrote the Leaves of Grass, and then he published it himself, and then in the next year it doubled in size, and he wrote some more, and continued writing for most of it is written in the next 10 years, so he continues to revise it for the rest of his life.
In your essay, you focus on the historical context in which Whitman created his Leaves of Grass, post-Jacksonian America. That
he had a brother named Andrew
Jackson Whitman. Yeah. And you call attention in particular to the ways in which the flexibility of association with occupations influenced Whitman's construction of his poetic lines. In some of the other videos we've created, we talk about the Jacksonian democracy's elimination of hierarchy as a means of appraising worth in the United States, and how this refusal to subordinate clauses to one another or to establish a propositional argument was attuned to Whitman's attempt to create in poetry a sense of the equality of the common man with the President of the United States.
Right. He has that line, have you thought the president more than you? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But when Whitman brought about this transformation of himself from a journeyman printer to the national bard, he made pretty interesting use of a letter that a figure he called the Master, Ralph Waldo Emerson, sent to him on July 21st, 1855, in which he celebrates Whitman by telling him he considers the poetry he sent the most significant piece of wit and wisdom yet contributed to the United States. Whitman made some interesting use of that letter. Would you talk about that?
Sure. I mean, without getting Emerson's permission or even knowledge, he published the letter as a forward to his second edition, which he came out with the next year. So and he also did a couple of reviews that he wrote himself under pseudonyms, and published in New York papers with other journals that were friendly to him. And but the using and Emerson was excited by Whitman, and he told all his friends about it. He told Thoreau about it, and he sent Alcott down to meet Whitman, and kind of maybe he was doing that because he wanted a report about Whitman before he went and met him himself. But yeah, no, Emerson was enthusiastic, but Whitman used that sponsorship as aggressively as he could.